It's official, folks. $15,000 grants open to all applicants. Now, I suspected this might be the case. In yesterday's video, I was saying I've been receiving a lot of anecdotal reports that people who had recently applied for the EIDL loan were now being invited to the EIDL grant, the $10,000 grant, and then subsequently the $5,000 grant to total $15,000. I'd received some anecdotal reports, but since that video, I've now been forwarded tons of information proving that yes, this has opened up to new businesses who can now apply, and this is a fundamental change on this program and an exciting change for those who have been sitting interested about this program. Maybe you haven't even heard about this program before. I'm going to cover everything you need to know, but this is a fundamental change for those who've been sitting and waiting, and you finally now can have access to this funding eventually. So we're going to cover everything you need to know, an overview of this program if you aren't familiar. If you are familiar, I'm just going to cover all the details, things that you may have missed or maybe you don't know about yet. We're going to cover how this affects existing applicants, because I know there's a lot of existing applicants who are like, hey, why not just cover the people who have already applied and you've been waiting? Why not do that first and then open it up to new applicants? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how the SBA is facilitating this, because it's a little bit strange how they're facilitating it. We're going to cover the entire process from how you apply and the steps, the confirmation email, what you can spend this thing on, everything you need to know regarding this $15,000 grant that can really be spent on any business expense. It's pretty exciting. So starting off here, we talk about the anecdotal reports. Something that's interesting here is there still is yet to be an official SBA release on this. So let me pop down to the computer here. This is the SBA's newsroom. This is where they do press releases. There is no report whatsoever on their website yet that this grant has opened up to new applicants. Now, the SBA administrator did say, expect this to open in June. And if you've been following this channel for a while, I've been saying that for a long time. The SBA was telling me like, yeah, we expect this to open in June to new applicants, but no release whatsoever on their website saying, hey, this is now open. Even on the EIDL page, which I'll show you in a second, it still references it as if it isn't open. So there hasn't been an update of this yet. There's no articles on this yet. This is literally like the grassroots, straight from YouTube kind of thing before any major news site even knows about it, it seems like. So yeah, so the way that the SBA is facilitating this is kind of odd. No release yet. It just seems like they're just starting to process applications. Hey, whatever, as long as there's some progress here. Oh, there's also something that I want to bring up while I'm on the computer here. Big issue with scammers. So in the comments, first off, there's a lot of people who will try and pretend to be me in the comments. They'll have usernames as if they're me and try to get you to send them money and do other crap. Or go to like an Instagram account that's not mine. It's not me. I'm not going to request money from you ever. All of my legitimate comments will always have a check mark next to my name, verified on YouTube. So that's how you know it's me. And also, I'm just never going to request money from you, ever. But now it's gotten worse. Now I've noticed that scammers are running ads under my videos as me trying to get people to join groups. So they're literally paying for ads, posing as me. That is not me. Anything I ever open, I'll talk about on video, or it'll be linked in the description. That's it. I'm not going to run an ad on my own videos. That doesn't even make sense. So just please be careful with that. There was a group that someone opened that has 106,000 people joined. A scammer. It's insane. I've contacted YouTube. I've contacted legal. It's ridiculous, but I just wanted to warn everyone. Be vigilant about the scammers. Okay, now getting into this, how this process works. $15,000 grant, we have the targeted advance and the supplemental advance. So how this works, you apply by going to the SBA's website. You apply directly on the SBA website. And this is the first page. I'll have all the relevant links down in the description of this video. This takes less than 10 minutes to go through all this. It's basic business information. In order to apply for the $10,000 and $5,000 grant, you have to apply for the EIDL loan. It's a little bit weird. You apply for the loan, and whether you're approved or not for the loan, you'll receive instructions on how to apply for the $15,000 total grant. So you apply for this and then you wait for an email in your inbox. We're going to cover that email in a second, but first we're going to do just some general overview of the program details here. So there's the targeted advance, which is $10,000, the supplemental targeted advance, which is $5,000. So you first have the $10,000 group, which is a targeted criteria. Only select businesses who hit the criteria will receive that. And then it's pared down even further for the additional $5,000. We'll cover all the details here. So advance funds of up to $10,000 $10,000 will be available to applicants in low-income communities who previously received an EIDL advance of less than $10,000. So this is wrong. This is outdated. I just wanted to highlight this because originally it was just the additional, the top up to $10,000 for previous applicants. Now it is open to new applicants. So that's why you need to apply for the loan in order to also apply for this. I'm going to be telling everyone I know who hasn't yet applied and hit that criteria, hey, apply right now. Apply right now. Now is the time to do it. So the targeted criteria now to receive the $10,000 grant is you have to be in a low-income community, which is defined by this policy map, which I'll also have linked down in the description. This map, you just type in your address. It'll tell you if you're in a low-income community or not. If you aren't in a low-income community, there's really no point in applying as of right now unless there's some kind of rule change. If there is a rule change, I will absolutely let you know on this channel. So subscribe, turn on the notification bell because I will post a video if there's ever a guidance change here, which there might be because it seems like there's going to be funding left in this program. So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So you have to be in a low-income community. You have to demonstrate a reduction of 30% in revenue. And the way they calculate this is you have to take an 8-week period beginning on March 2nd, 2020 or later, and then compare that to an 8-week period before March 2nd, 2020, and need to show a reduction of 30% in revenue. And you also need to have 300 or fewer employees. No problem. Most people can prove that. Also important, in order to receive the $10,000 grant, you have to have your 2019 tax return filed and submitted because you're going to have to submit this IRS form 4506T, which is a tax transcript form, and that is going to request your 2019 taxes. So your 2019 taxes need to be done to get the $10,000 and the $5,000. So you're going to apply for the loan. As long as you hit this criteria, you'll be notified to also apply for the $10,000 grant. Now for the supplemental advance, the $5,000 advance, this is paring it down even further. You still have to be in the low-income community. Now you have to approve a 50% economic loss. So again, you need to take an 8-week period after March 2nd, 2020, any 8-week period after March 2nd, and then compare that to an 8-week period beforehand, and you need to show a 50% reduction in revenue. I'll talk about how you prove that in a second. And then you have to have 10 or fewer employees. And if you hit that criteria, you'll receive the full $15,000 in your bank account, and you don't have to prove how you spend it. As long as it's going to business expenses, you are good to go. It is a very exciting program once you receive the funds. Now, it will take a while to receive these funds, a while to receive them. Right now, they're at about 14% of the people who have applied have received funding, so it's going to take a long time unless something happens to speed this up, so be very patient if you do apply, but you should receive because there's plenty of funding left here. Now, this is the actual email you will receive. So you receive this email after you apply for the loan, and then you'll get the email a period of time afterwards that requests more information and further application. So the first here, it says they're launching a new round of economic injury disaster advances, the $10,000 advance, the $5,000 advance. This is the criteria that we just talked about. What you will need: a copy of your 2019 federal tax return. You'll also need to fill out that tax return transcript so they can verify your tax return, and the business's monthly gross receipts for each month from January 2019 through the most recent month-to-date period. So the easiest way to provide that is going to be something like bank statements. That's a lot of bank statements to download, but hey, that's just how they're doing it. It's basically a manual review on each and every one of these to verify that you hit all those criteria. And their goal is to process these requests within 21 days. Do not expect that to happen within 21 days. Frankly, it's a miracle if that happened in 21 days. Expect far longer than 21 days. Now, there are some issues here that can happen that I want to highlight, and this has happened to many people. So double check all of this information when you're submitting your request to make sure you actually receive the $10,000. So double check your account number, your routing number are correct. Make sure that you're using the right routing number for ACH payments. If you log into your online banking, you'll be able to see which routing number is the correct one for ACH payments. Make sure your bank name is the actual official name. Ensure that you are using a checking account, not a savings account. Double check that your account is still open and you can receive payments into that account. Also, I would strongly recommend using like a big bank like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, something like that. There seems to be more issues with like Chime bank accounts and the fintech kind of online banks. Not always, but there seems to be more issues there. Before submitting, make sure, this is huge, make sure that the bank account that you're using uses the business's legal name. So if you are Jane Doe, but your business is Jane's Pet Service, or whatever it is, make sure your bank account is Jane's Pet Service. If you operate just as your name, like you're an Uber driver, then it's just your name, and that's okay in that case. But make sure that it lines up with your application and the name on your bank account, because that can cause issues, and it will cause issues. Also, make sure your account has your business address and your phone number on it. So again, your address matters because you need to be in that low income census tract. So make sure your address is correct on your bank account. And also make sure your bank account was opened using either your tax ID or your social security number, whatever is on your application for the EIDL. It all needs to line up in order to receive this deposit. If it doesn't go through, here's what happens. It gets returned back to the SBA, and then they're going to examine it. It's going to take more time. It doesn't mean that you lose your spot. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get funding, but it's just more work. So it's better just to do this correctly the first time. So they're going to request more documents to verify that it's actually you. And additional documents include, but are not limited to, a copy of your ID or a voided check of the correct amount. They could request a whole host of other things as well. So just make sure you have that all verified up front, and then you should receive that $10,000 to $15,000 advance. Now, it seems like about 75% of people who receive the $10,000 advance also receive the $5,000 advance. So there's a large majority here. Now, for the people who've already applied for the EIDL advance, and you're sitting there thinking like, hey, why are they accepting new applicants when there's still 85% of the people who've already applied are not funded? From what the SBA has said, they are doing these first come, first serve. So unless there's an error code, if you applied earlier, you should get funded first. Now, this is just going to create a larger backlog for the people who are just now applying. That's why I'm trying to set up realistic expectations, where if you're just now applying, don't plan on receiving these funds anytime soon. So they're saying it's first come, first serve, so it shouldn't alter your spot in line if you have already applied. Now, we'll probably receive more information on that from the SBA, but from now they're kind of saying it's not an issue, but I understand the frustration definitely, where you're like, take care of what you have to take care of here and then open up to new applicants. But I'm glad there is a bit of a silver lining here for the people who have just been sitting and waiting, hoping to get a spot in line. Now you at least know, like, hey, okay, at least I'm in queue. There's a possibility of getting that $10,000 to $15,000. There's plenty of funding left. I'm overall happy that it seems like there's at least progress in one area here. So I would just like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.